The story between Martell Holt and Arion has always been layered with tension, emotion, and drama. For anyone who has followed Love and Marriage Huntsville, it is clear that the relationships in this show are never straightforward. Over the years, viewers have seen marriages crumble, alliances form and dissolve, and personal betrayals play out in front of the cameras. Martell, in particular, has often been cast as a villain in the eyes of the public. His marriage to Melody Cherie was highly publicized, and the pain, arguments, and conflicts were all captured for viewers to witness. People reacted strongly to his mistakes, especially when infidelity became part of the conversation. Fans felt passionately about the situation, often taking sides immediately. Arion entered the story at a delicate point, when emotions were already high. She quickly became part of the conversation, not just as a name connected to rumors, but as someone directly involved in the unfolding events. From that point on, Arion was placed under intense scrutiny. Reality television fans often do not allow for nuance. Once a person is assigned a role, hero or villain, it is difficult to shift perception. Many people initially painted her as the outsider, the one disrupting a household, while Martell carried the heavier label of villain. Over time, both have faced harsh commentary, criticism, and judgment from viewers. Social media amplified every statement, every interview, and every public appearance, making it almost impossible for either of them to move without people noticing. What has become increasingly interesting, however, is that the narrative may be changing. New discussions, resurfaced clips, and side-by-side comparisons of past statements have led some fans to reconsider the original story. The idea that Martell and Arion may now be viewed as vindicated has begun to circulate. Vindication does not necessarily mean innocence. It does not erase past mistakes or harm. Instead, it suggests that the full story is more complex than previously believed. Some accusations may not have been fully accurate, while others may have been misinterpreted or exaggerated. Public perception, as always, plays a huge role. What was once accepted as truth is now being questioned. Martell has taken a notably calmer approach in recent times. Where once he might have responded defensively or reacted emotionally, he now chooses to speak in measured tones. That change in behavior has influenced how people perceive him. Calmness, control, and a willingness to speak thoughtfully rather than react impulsively have shifted the narrative for some viewers. It encourages people to reconsider their judgments. Similarly, Arion has worked to reclaim her narrative. She has emphasized her boundaries, the respect she expects, and the complexity of her own decisions during the period of controversy. Her words indicate that she feels misunderstood and that there was more to her story than what was broadcast on television. Reality television is a world built on editing, production, and storytelling. Producers control how scenes are presented, how confessionals are framed, and even how viewers are meant to feel through music cues, lighting, and scene selection. This has always been true for Love and Marriage Huntsville. While the show thrives on authenticity, it thrives equally on drama. When Martell's infidelity first became public knowledge, sympathy leaned toward Melody, and criticism targeted him. Arion was cast in the role of the outsider. However, as time has passed and more details have been analyzed, viewers are beginning to notice inconsistencies. Statements made publicly at one point may contradict interviews from earlier seasons. Old footage, screenshots, and live sessions have resurfaced, allowing fans to reevaluate what really happened. This scrutiny has revealed a more layered story. Relationships, especially those on reality television, are rarely one-sided. Marriages end for many reasons, and conflict is often a combination of multiple factors. Mistakes by one party do not occur in isolation, and neither does betrayal. Viewers are beginning to understand that both Martell and Arion were involved in a larger context that included emotional struggles, miscommunication, and decisions that were influenced by high-stress situations. It is not a simple story of good versus bad, right versus wrong. Instead, it is a story of people navigating complicated circumstances while under constant observation. Public perception plays a huge role in how narratives are formed and maintained. When people throw accusations without full context, they risk misrepresenting the truth. Screenshots and clips do not disappear. Statements made in anger or frustration can resurface at any moment. This has been a consistent factor in the ongoing conversations about Martell and Arion. The public can remember, replay, and reassess. When fans start connecting dots across different episodes and interviews, they often notice discrepancies. This process has contributed to the shift in perception. Martell, once widely criticized and cast as irredeemable, is now being seen by some as someone who endured public scrutiny and still stands firm. Arion, once criticized as the outsider, is now receiving more understanding as viewers recognize that the situation was more nuanced than first presented.
The idea of vindication is particularly interesting. Neither Martell nor Arion is presented as flawless or without faults, but as the audience examines their actions more closely, the narrative changes. The mistakes and conflicts that were once central to negative perceptions are now viewed as part of a complex story. It's a reminder that reality television editing and storytelling can significantly shape public opinion. Early judgments often rely on emotion rather than full context. As new evidence emerges or old events are reconsidered, people are more willing to reassess who they support and who they criticize. Social media has amplified this process. Every live session, tweet, and online interaction becomes part of the public record. Fans can replay content, analyze interactions, and reassess statements in light of new information. This has allowed for a more thorough examination of the events involving Martell and Arion. People are now questioning whether the initial narrative painted a complete picture. Statements that were once dismissed as deflection or defiance are now being reconsidered. For example, Martell's calm and measured tone during recent discussions signals growth and reflection. Arion's insistence on respecting boundaries and her refusal to accept unfair labels also demonstrates a more strategic approach to narrative control. Alliances in reality television are rarely permanent. Loyalty is situational, and relationships often shift based on circumstances. This has been evident in the recent developments surrounding Martell and Arion. Former allies have softened their stance or distanced themselves entirely, signaling changes behind the scenes. When supporters reassess, it can have ripple effects across the audience. Perception shifts quickly in this environment, and moments that once seemed clear-cut are now up for debate. Throwing shots or making public accusations without full evidence can backfire, as critics and fans alike examine the facts more closely. Accountability versus perpetual punishment is a key theme in this ongoing story. Holding someone accountable for wrongdoing is one thing, but refusing to allow anyone to move forward creates a narrative that can appear unfair. Reality television viewers appreciate growth arcs and redemption stories, not just continuous criticism. Martell's focus on co-parenting, personal growth, and moving forward demonstrates an effort to show change. Arion's efforts to clarify her side of the story and set boundaries emphasize her intention to reclaim her narrative. Both approaches challenge the earlier perceptions that cast them in exclusively negative roles. The role of evidence and receipts has also been critical in shifting perspectives. Social media users and fans often replay episodes, interviews, and live sessions to compare statements. Inconsistencies are noticed quickly. When accusations cannot be substantiated, credibility is affected. For Martell and Arion, this process has created space for a more nuanced understanding. Some of the loudest critics may have overstated their case, while the full context reveals that the situation was far more complicated than previously acknowledged. Every public interaction, comment, and clip contributes to the evolving story. Another important aspect is public memory. Viewers remember sequences of events, decisions made, and how individuals reacted under pressure. In reality television, reputations are constantly on display. A calm, thoughtful approach can shift public perception dramatically. Martell's current composure and measured communication indicate maturity and a strategic understanding of how his actions are viewed. Arion's focus on reclaiming her image and emphasizing respect and boundaries is similarly strategic. Together, these behaviors challenge the earlier simplified narrative. Ultimately, the story of Martell and Arion is far from over. Alliances remain fragile, perceptions are fluid, and audiences continue to analyze every interaction. The evolution of this narrative illustrates the complexities of reality television. What once seemed like a clear-cut case of wrongdoing or betrayal is now seen as more layered, with multiple contributing factors and perspectives. This ongoing discussion demonstrates how public perception is shaped, reshaped, and reconsidered over time. Perception and narrative control remain at the heart of this story. Every move by Martell or Arion is analyzed, every word is dissected, and every past action is reviewed in light of new information. The shifting opinions of fans, the resurfacing of old clips, and the careful examination of past statements all contribute to a story that is still evolving. Reality television thrives on conflict, but it also thrives on moments of clarity, growth, and redemption. For Martell and Arion, the balance between past mistakes, public scrutiny, and personal growth continues to play out in front of the cameras. The idea of vindication, credibility, and narrative control reminds us that nothing is ever simple in reality television. Characters evolve, relationships shift, and audience perception is never fixed. Today's villain can be tomorrow's misunderstood figure, while today's hero can face intense scrutiny tomorrow. The dynamics between Martell and Arion reflect these realities. Both have endured intense public attention, criticism, and scrutiny, yet they continue to navigate their personal and public lives with care. Finally, as Love and Marriage Huntsville continues, it is clear that the story of Martell and Arion will remain a topic of discussion. The streets are watching, timelines are active, and fans are ready to analyze every detail. This ongoing narrative reminds viewers that perception is fluid, credibility is fragile, and the court of public opinion is never adjourned. Every action, every statement, and every clip contributes to an evolving story that keeps the audience engaged and constantly reassessing what they thought they knew. The tale of Martell and Arion is a testament to the complexities of relationships, public perception, and the power of narrative in reality television.